universe. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philos-o-Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
Cool. And here we are, episode 53. This is season 2.
Yeah, this
the
starts
first
season 2.
First episode of season 2.
Yeah.
Episode 53, we call it.
Yes.
We're not going to get too confusing.
No, we talked about this. We were like, well, what should we do? But we're probably confusing him right now.
I know.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
No.
Because it's our show. Anyways, what is the topic for episode 53?
This is Grieving the Unexpected.
Grieving the Unexpected. Good topic for right now.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, before we do that, anything from last week?
I do have a few things from last week. Last week I did a few readings on the show, and I wanted to read you responses to a couple of them. If you remember Teddy Spaghetti, this is Kate that had asked about Teddy Spaghetti. And her response was, "You guys are the best. Love your podcast every week. And thank you for making me and my husband cry happy tears tonight."
Ha, that's cool.
Yeah.
Teddy Spaghetti.
Teddy Spaghetti.
What was the connection? I don't remember.
There was the lifelong dog, the once in a lifetime dog. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. You know me, I don't really remember my readings. I should have probably looked into that.
That's okay.
Because I'm like, wait.
But you just jogged my memory, so thank you. And thank you, Teddy Spaghetti.
Yes.
That was cool.
Yeah. And I have one more of those, too. This is from Chelsea Tate Mandler. She had the little orange kitty Puff that I read. He was the one that with the arthritis that needed like heat and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. This was her response. "Samantha, we just talked yesterday that Puff only wants seafood because I said I was smelling some kind of seafood and I thought it was tuna.
Okay.
Steve brought him the wrong wet food, and he has arthritis. You are amazing," and then amazing in all capitals. "This cat can't land on his feet. He walks into walls, and he just prefers his bed, like you said. I was so worried we needed to put him down." And then a few minutes later, she sent another one. It says, "My husband, who isn't a believer, is in awe."
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks,
Thank you
Chelsea.
for that. Yeah. I always love it when, there's a non-believer and they're like, "Wait, you must have told her that."
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. I know for some people it's hard to believe, but it is real.
No, it
very,
is.
very real.
Cool.
Yep. So there's one other thing that I have, and that is that I wanted to wish my very good friend Allison a happy birthday today. Today is her birthday. Allison and I have been friends since we were like 11.
Happy birthday, Allison.
Happy birthday, birthday.
Hope it's a good one.
Yeah, me too.
Cool.
As good as it can be under the circumstances, because she's locked at home with her bird who's driving her crazy.
Yeah,
but,
celebrate.
6
feet away, celebrate.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me, so that our listeners know, we participated in a car parade this week, and that was a lot of fun.
It was pretty cool. It was funny.
So thank you to one of our listeners and good friends, Jennifer. She organized it for her twin sons, and it was a lot of fun. I would highly recommend it. If,
it was pretty funny.
You're looking for something different, if you have a friend or family, whatever.
Yeah. I think the twins' expression was even better. And then the cops got called because we were honking and woke some neighborhood baby.
Oh,
sorry,
man.
If you're listening out there, sorry about the baby.
Yeah, really sorry about that. But, it didn't last that long. Seriously, it was like over before it started,
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It was fun.
But it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Cool.
So that's what I got for you.
All right. Well, episode 53. Grieving the Unexpected.
You know what else is unexpected? How this episode went for me this week and putting it together, because sometimes I know like what's going to be in an episode, but sometimes they unravel themselves as I'm putting them together, and they take an unexpected turn. And this one kind of did this for me, because I thought we were going to sit here and just talk about grief, like of losing somebody. But we're going to talk about grief of losing not just somebody, but things, your job, your sanity at this point. We're going to talk about how we're getting through this, how this pandemic is, a lot of us are grieving this.
Yeah.
So
it's a great topic, I think.
I think so too. it still blows my mind that it took that turn. Last week, I had mentioned that it was the anniversary of my mom's death a few days after we recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And I had also expressed the fact that it wasn't a big deal because mom's here all the time.
Right.
Well, this year it hit me really hard.
Yeah.
And I think it did that for a couple of reasons. I think when you're under stress and there's things going on in your life that other things that maybe aren't such a big deal. I'm not saying my mom's death is not a big deal, but my state of mind already like made it worse. Mm-hmm. It made me like feel like I needed her more and like, why aren't you here? You know?
Right.
So with this episode, I really thought that was kind of the way that we were going to go with it. But
sure.
Yeah.
And it's no
kind of crazy turn.
I think it's no surprise really that for many of us during this time period gives a lot of time for reflection and thought. You know, whether it's about a job you lost or someone a loved one, or maybe a relationship or child, unfortunately, or, you know, anything that, whatever.
Yeah.
That it gives us this time. And I think actually that's part of the idea here.
Yeah.
Is to give us time to reflect on and kind of ponder what's really important.
Absolutely. On the flip side, it can give us time to get into our own heads and make ourselves crazy too.
Yeah.
Well, so it's, you know, I guess we can do with it what we want, but for a lot of people, it's a really hard time right now for sure. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
So the first thing I wanted to do was read a little bit about what is grief. Just in general, what is it? Grief is a natural response to loss, any loss. It's the emotional suffering you feel when something or someone you love is taken away. Often the pain of loss can feel overwhelming. Mm-hmm. There are so many types of grief. So some people don't recognize actually that they're even grieving. Which kind of blows my mind. I don't know how you don't know that you're grieving. That's interesting. I've never really thought about that. Because grief has always been really hard for me. You know, it's like I know something's going on.
Right.
You know? So, on to the next page.
No, I agree. I think it's, again, if you take the time to sort of, which we all seem to have a lot of right now, and kind of think about that, something like that.
Yeah.
I think you can kind of find, you know, where grief can actually lay in your life.
Yeah. Some other things that can bring grief to your life that we don't always put in this category is, besides like a death of a loved one or a pet, is a divorce or a breakup. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think that of all these things on the list that I'm going to read, there's some I haven't been through, but that's been the second hardest. After losing somebody, the divorce is like one of those things, or a breakup that can just make you feel like it is the end of the world.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm working for Kasamba now, and that's pretty much it. That's all I do is love readings. And I'll tell you what, that there are so many people that come to me. They want to know if their ex is thinking about them and if they're going to get their ex back. And it blows my mind that there's so many people that are still grieving over an old relationship.
Yeah.
But it's a different kind of grief, you know? Mm-hmm. When somebody dies, it's not that it's done and over, but the sting is like wham. Mm. But with a relationship and the relationship ending, a lot of times, most of the time, I think, it's not just done. There's this whole process that comes with it. You guys don't stop talking, or you go back and forth, or, you know, and the person's not gone. So in your own mind, you're thinking, well, maybe we could get back together someday.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people that I read for what's happening. Right. They don't look and think about what actually happened in the relationship because they're stuck in grief.
Yeah.
But they don't realize they're stuck in grief.
Yeah, maybe you want to make excuses or not pay attention to as much to the negative part that made it end.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
So you're grieving that, so you you want to feel that love or fill that void maybe that's kind of there.
Yeah, it's like memories over time, they start to fade, good and bad. So, you know, you get to a point where like, well, maybe I was overreacting, or it wasn't that bad, or... You know, I know for a lot of these women, especially, it's that they don't think that they can get somebody else. And that makes me sad because there's a lid for every can.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. A couple other forms of loss on my list: losing a job, miscarriage, loss of a friendship, finding out that you're ill, that maybe you have some kind of terminal disease, or that a loved one is ill. Because a lot of times you'll mourn, if you find out that somebody is sick, you'll mourn their death before they even pass.
Yeah.
It's a weird kind of thing that happens there.
Yeah, I think you sort of picture the moment, or you try to wrap your head. I don't know if that's your way of kind of bracing yourself for it, but you sort of somehow imagine the saddest moment, I think, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I think that's also part of questioning just mortality in general, whether it be your own or a close person,
Right.
Not questioning, but acknowledging your mortality, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. I want to do some readings in this episode, but I feel that I am like super duper emotional today. Like just talking about this stuff, I don't know if you can see it, but the tears are just falling down. I'm like, okay, really? Can we turn the waterworks off? So I don't know.
We're trying to work here. We're working here.
Right? Seriously, turn them off. So I don't know how this is going to go, but I do want to do some readings. What sucks about it with the crying aspect, don't think that I don't like to cry. That's not it. It's that crying is one of the few things that still brings on migraines. So I just prefer to not.
Okay.
But that's okay. You just do what you got to do.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, so let's start with this one. This is from your cousin Hope.
Okay.
And she said, "Dad, are you there? Do you see us? Samantha, Dad had early onset Alzheimer's and dementia, so I guess I want to know that it doesn't stay with him and he knows us again."
Oh, yeah. I felt him the other day. It was funny. I was kind of having a tough day, and I felt like everything was falling from whatever I was putting it. But something told me, listen to Jimi Hendrix, the Band of Gypsies. Electric Ladyland. And so I did, and I felt him. I could just feel him, and he was chuckling at me because I was getting frustrated.
Shocking.
Like that things are falling and stuff. And but no, absolutely, Hope. He's around.
Oh yeah, and he's 100%. He doesn't. It's when you get there, you're healed. Everything's healed. So his memory is what it was, and
yeah.
And he does remember that time between when, he had the onset and when he passed. He does remember, and he does see what happened during that time. So he really wants you to know that, so that you know that he appreciates what you did for him during the time, and that you were always very good to him, is what he's telling me.
Right.
So don't worry about that at all. Yeah. He's very much put together now, and yeah.
He was a sweet man. This is my mom's brother. And other than himself and myself, we are distantly related to the Guthrie family, Woody Guthrie and Arlo Guthrie. My mom's mother, that's her cousin. So it was her brother's son was Woody Guthrie.
Yeah.
And who was a painter and a musician, but his life didn't end so great.
Yeah.
But the only other people in our family that we know of that were really musical. I think my mom had a cousin, that was a singer and an actress, but my uncle would paint, and he lived with my grandmother, and I would go see him, and I would watch him. Showing me that
right now.
I would watch him, and I would flip through his records. He was always have a record on while he was painting. He just did amazing pieces. He did one for me many years ago too that was awesome. But yeah, it was just, I feel him a lot, especially when I do artwork, when I'm painting and stuff. That was a weird instance because I don't know why. I felt like it was him telling me to listen to this album because I hadn't listened to it a lot as much as the other ones of his. So, but yeah, that was unusual because usually it's when I'm drawing and I wasn't drawing. I
usually comes in on the art side.
But yeah, it's, I think you're right, absolutely right that, he's completely like healed, repaired. It's his consciousness, it's his soul. So anything that was a physical issue, be it dementia in the brain, which houses in the brain, there's no brain, so there's no illness.
Yeah. Today I had a lady, actually I've been talking to her for the last couple of days, that wants me to do a reading for her. Her daughter has developmental disabilities. To what extent, I'm not sure yet, but I'm not really sure how this is going to go because she's nonverbal and, so I'm interested to see when you get in there into the subconscious, is she going to be, different? Yeah. It'll be really interesting. I'll have to tell you guys about that reading after it happens. But yeah, so your subconscious is one thing, your soul is something else. And, you take that soul with you and your memories but you leave all the meat suit stuff here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's good, Hope. He's with grandma and aunties and everybody. So
they come through often, Yeah.
He has more effect on me in my life than I realized. He left a huge, huge impression on me.
Yeah, that he did. Well, that was a good one to start with, at least for me. Now you're like, it's my turn. Sorry. Didn't mean to pass the tears on to you. You want this?
Okay. It's all good.
It's all good. Okay. Okay, so let's get into what changed for me this week when I thought we were going one direction with this episode and another. I started realizing through things that I was reading and doing research on that what we're experiencing right now, whether we realize it or not, going through this pandemic is grief. It is.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't really look at it like that. And I've been emotional, not just because of the anniversary of my mom's death, and I'm not an Easter fan at all, not the religious stuff, just childhood memories.
Yeah.
So it was Easter the day before her passing. I've been emotional over that. So here I am thinking that all these ways that I'm feeling and thinking are just because of that. But really, I'm really mourning a lot of things. I'm personally mourning the loss of my job.
Yeah.
More than I realized.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that's going on with, maybe even mourning and grieving our loss of freedom.
Oh, yeah.
To a certain degree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that I want to be out and about every minute of the day, but as soon as somebody says, don't do it,
exactly.
I feel the sudden urge to do it.
The other night on Facebook, I shared B. Arthur from Golden Girls laying in a chair.
I love that.
And just saying, how long is this going to go on for, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I shared that because that's how I feel every night. And then last night we were laying in bed. I was like, here it is. Here's the moment of the day where I go, how long is this going to go on for?
I found myself in our band chat kind of telling, and often I feel like they kind of speak to me through me.
Yeah.
Even if I'm talking to somebody else, but I was just try not to take it, you guys, as when this is over. Just try to take it as a day at a time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Nothing is going to change here if we don't want it to. It's just a matter of time.
Exactly.
So, and I was feeling the same way. I was all about the B. Arthur,
yeah,
when
seriously.
Is this gonna stop?
Here's another way that it's that's like grief, and we'll get into the stages of grief, but every day I go through this cycle of, okay, I'm going to do a lot. I have a list of things I want to do today. And then I go into the laying on the couch on my phone, and then I'll get some stuff done. But it's like your mind is just so all over the place.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like it can't settle down for 1 minute.
Yeah.
It's very, very frustrating.
It is. I mean, I finally got in here, wrote a song the other day. Kind of recorded just a rough draft of it, and that was nice just to spend some hours of not thinking about really what's going on.
Right, exactly.
I'm just escaping and jumping into it.
Yeah. I mean, think about it, all the stages that you go through during the day, the positive thoughts. I mean, for me, that's how it is. I don't know about you guys, but I'll have one moment where I'm really, really positive and this is good. It's good. We're really good. And then, a little bit later, it's the trying to accept what's going on here. Yeah. And then there's the denial of what's going on. Okay, maybe I'm just overreacting,
Yeah, right.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm going through all of that right now, for sure.
I think a lot of people are.
Yeah.
That's why it's really important for us to stay, understanding with each other.
Right.
Compassionate and hey, I understand there's a lot of pressure here on top of your own personal stuff,
Right. Well, and something else that we forget about is that we do, in a way, mourn the deaths that aren't even ours. Do you know what I mean? Like, we see that number go up every day, and it makes us sad.
Yeah.
So we are still mourning for those people that have lost their lives, and that's emotionally draining on itself,
Yeah, I really feel bad.
I do too. I hate that. We get this update on Facebook once a day that tells us every city in the county and how many cases there are total and how many deaths in the county. And it's just like, brutal.
And just like how unnecessary a lot of them really are, but it just sucks. But
yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of things that we could lose, like we had talked about, but a couple of the things that are really the hardest, we don't even necessarily see on the outside so much, is like that feeling of security. Like, before this started and people had a secure job, there's so many people that were just going on with their normal everyday life, not thinking that their job was just going to be taken out from underneath them.
Yeah, you're grieving the loss of security.
Yep, you are. Not just the loss of your job, but the loss of security.
And if you have kids, and you're looking at that, I mean, that's overwhelming.
Yeah, exactly. Something that I wrote down here that I found interesting is that many of the losses that we are experiencing now are called ambiguous losses, meaning they lack clarity and definition. And with death, there's an end, like what I was saying. It's like an end point. But here, we don't know what's going to happen from here. So every day this continues, and we're still mourning, whatever it is that we're mourning in this situation, and there's no clear-cut end to it. Not that there is a clear-cut end in grief, period, but I think with this, what this means is that you can't heal because you're still in this process.
Mm-hmm.
You're still, like, I don't know, mourning it before it's completely gone, I guess. Yeah.
True.
It's very, it's definitely a different kind of grief than I've ever felt before, and I didn't really even realize that it was, When we look at grief, and we were talking about the different stages of grief are denial, shock, anger, bargaining, depression, working through the situation, and acceptance. I think I go through these all day, every day.
Yeah.
Because like we talked about,
the bargaining is the one that jumped out at me, like, like what we do in our minds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we all do that, don't we? Like,
God, I promise you I'll be good if you make this go away.
Seriously, just make this go away. It doesn't work like that.
No.
I really, really wish it did. It doesn't. But I'll tell you what does work. And going back to episodes on manifestation, there's been a lot of situations here during this pandemic that I have manifested without even knowing. And it's very easy to do that. And so okay, here's an example. I'm painting rocks, and I didn't have any more rocks. I just had a few left. I think I had a dozen or so. And so I asked if anybody wanted me to paint them a rock, but I said, if you have a rock that you want to send me, I can paint that, or you might have to be, a little bit. May have to wait a little bit. 2 people sent me rocks this week. I got a package in the mail from Elaine, the same one that made us the face masks. She's sending me some really cool rocks that are already, like, I don't even have to coat them, like do the preliminary, what do you call that, primer? I don't have to do that. And then Jennifer at the car parade gave me a bag of rocks. So that's kind of what I mean by manifestation is I'm doing something good. I'm putting something good out and like doing rocks for people. And in return, I'm kind of getting what I'm manifesting back, if that makes sense. You can do that within this and try and bring good things to yourself, but you also have to put out the good stuff for people to get the good back.
Right.
That makes sense.
It absolutely does. I think it's true. I think, like, for me, like, take the time, for instance, if I sit and try to write a song, like, I was trying to take that grief that I was feeling with all this, and thinking about, a lot of different things in my life that maybe could be a bummer, or so, kind of tried to put that into a song.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, I mean, Samantha hears it for days and days of me, like, I can't figure out like a melody or,
Yeah, but when you get it, when it
got
clicks,
it, and I got it, and it was like, okay, cool. And I kind of put that into there. Mm-hmm. So the story itself in the song is part fiction, part fact,
right?
Mm-hmm. But it is the essence of the emotion is there,
right?
And sharing that with the other guys, you're kind of taking a risk and putting yourself out there. Mm-hmm. What do you think of my art?
Right,
guys?
totally.
And the response was really nice.
Yeah.
It was like, cool, feeling like I was good at that part of being able to channel that emotion, do something positive with it, even though it feels like a bummer and it's overwhelming in so many different ways, to channel something positive with it.
It's really, really important because, like, in this list, there's depression. And if you're not doing what you need to do for yourself emotionally, then that depression is going to be overwhelming. And there's a lot of people that's happening with right now. And I think even with myself, I have those days where it's really hard and you don't really know all the time, why am I so upset? Why am I so sad? Well, because your life has completely changed. Completely changed. And here's an interesting story that you really know at this point, is that I really have been wanting to get out of pet sitting. I don't think that's not common knowledge. I think I've talked about that.
Right.
But I have been manifesting a way out of pet sitting for so long. And lately, like before a change comes, and I had mentioned this because I said a change was coming, it starts to build. And build and build. And I start to get more and more anxious about it. And that's what was happening with this. Right. And I had been given messages, I want to say like a year ago, maybe even more.
Yeah, because we sat down and channeled your mom, and she said that you would eventually, but it was going to
It was going to happen in a few stages.
Yeah, it was going to kind of dwindle off. It wasn't going to be just I'm going to sell the business kind of thing.
What they specifically said was that towards the end of my pet sitting career, my daily visits would start to drop off pretty much one at a time. Mm-hmm. I sat here and tried to analyze how that was even going to possibly happen, and not in a million years would I have thought a pandemic was going to be what did it.
Right.
Because 2 weeks before the pandemic started, before the lockdown, my first client, because I knew the order they were going to go in, the first one went. And it was because her husband was out on disability. This was such a good time for him to get out on disability, looking at that now, the way that worked out for them. Yeah. So that was the first to go. Then one of my other ones decided she was going to move back to Thousand Oaks. And when she told me her place had sold, it was like a week or two after the first one went out. And then I knew the next one was going to be Murphy, but I thought maybe he was going to be moving. Right. He was the next one because he was the first business that was shut down. All my other clients were still working. So it unraveled exactly the way that they said it was going to.
Right.
But I had no idea that it was going to be a pandemic that was going to cause it.
Yeah.
Now I'm mourning the loss of that job.
Right.
I miss it so much.
Yeah.
But I did this. I asked for this. Not that I asked for a pandemic, but I asked for the out.
Right.
So
right.
It's
you
like,
just have to remember that part. You know what I mean? Because you did.
I did.
It'd be different if you weren't manifesting or seeking that.
Right.
But you did ask, and they actually even told you how it was going to happen.
Right.
So it's still our natural human instinct to panic because everything's based on money.
Yeah.
You know, that, oh, crap, how am I going to pull that one off?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's exactly how. And I kind of even see, now for me, my losing my previous job,
yes,
even much earlier.
Oh yeah.
But how important that was, because we just actually read on wherever you read it that somebody at my previous employer came down with it.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm not super old, but I do have asthma.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been good.
I smoked for a long time.
No, this happened for us for a reason. And I'm not saying that it's not happening for others. Everybody has their own journey and their own story. If Danny would have still been... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, say.
If Danny would have still been working this job and he would have gotten sick, it would have changed our story entirely.
Exactly. That's my point, was that it was... It would have been too compromising for me to be around that, I think.
Yeah.
And I was manifesting, trying... Yes. At the same time, not understanding, because they had told me the same thing, that
it's
you're
going to
not
make
going to
sense
be
later.
there
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
And it'll make sense when it happened. I was like, ah.
Yeah.
And like panic. But
now it makes sense.
Absolutely,
it does.
It makes sense.
Yeah. And that's a lot of times, like even with this pandemic and people that have lost their jobs and right now it may seem hopeless, there's a reason. You'll see it. You might not be next month or next year. It might be 10 years down the line.
Right.
But you'll see how whatever is going to happen during this time is going to affect what happens next in a positive way. Mm-hmm. And not that there's not going to be more struggles, but there's a reason, is my point.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
There's so much to be learned in every kind of moment, right? Like,
yes,
in each situation that's being thrown at us during this time, it's testing our patience, it's testing our faith. It's doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
Even within our own homes, it's like each moment I can look at our dynamics as a family and be like, I could learn from that.
Yes.
I could learn from that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You're around each other a lot more. Mm-hmm. Looking at it from a career standpoint, maybe that, like you said, this is the opportunity to change maybe something in your life that would better your situation or make you happier.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people that don't have the time before with their families, like you and I spend a lot of time together because we both, for the most part, except when I was out pet sitting, we were pretty much together. We both work from home.
Right.
So we had that kind of time together, but a lot of families don't. A lot of families, with Marina in school all day, of course, we don't have that kind of time with her.
Right.
But now you have this opportunity to get to know your family on a different level, something that you didn't get to do before because you were so busy. So that's a really important way of looking at it, is that take advantage of this time while you have it, because you might never have it again.
Yeah. It's just, I think we're supposed to really try to learn from this.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody... Nisha shared it, and I shared it also, was that I don't think anything should go back to normal because normal wasn't working.
No.
And this is a chance for us to rise up and do better, not just personally, individually, but collectively.
Right.
As families, as countries, as a planet.
Yes, absolutely. There's always going to be those people that aren't going to think that way. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes this so difficult, that if we could all get on the same page and look at it differently, it would change things.
That mentality will go away eventually. It'll take a very long time, but I don't believe this planet's going to stay this way.
I don't think so either. No.
It'll get worse before it gets better, but it will get better.
It will. It'll be new normal, but it'll get better. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something else that we have to take into consideration when we talk about grief and the things that we may be missing, like our jobs or even just going out and doing the things that we like to do, is that now we're stuck at home. Yep. This is a different level, because when you're stuck at home and you're being told, oh, no, you can't go anywhere. You can walk around your neighborhood.
Right.
Here, the trails and parks aren't closed, but the neighboring cities, you can't even walk on the trails. People are being good. They're being respectful out here. What that's causing, because I drove out to Westlake the other day, what that's causing out there is everybody to walk on the small amount of street that's available to them, because now the hiking paths are closed. And that's just causing a whole other problem. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people don't want to even go out and get sunshine. They don't want to leave their house at all. So this is giving it a whole different dynamic. When you're stuck in your house all day, every day, no matter how much you like to be home, you're still going to go a little bit nuts.
Yeah, you got to step outside.
Yeah, I've talked about my friend that lives in Italy, and we were talking a little bit. She gave me an update this week. It got worse before. Now it's starting to get a little bit better. They had taken more privileges away from them. I think at the last time that I had talked about it, they were allowed to go out for a walk around their street or whatever. They weren't allowed to do that.
No.
You couldn't, she couldn't take her kid in the stroller for a walk, period. Now she said you can walk by yourself, just one person. You have to wear a face mask. The second you walk out of your house, you have to wear a face mask. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, is that she's saying specifically that if they would have listened, if they wouldn't have gone back and if they would have kind of done what we're doing, things would be different. We need to learn from their mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Because they didn't do things the way that we're doing it. So if we go and, start doing the
there was
bad.
a guy that you did a reading for. I don't think you mentioned this in India that was living in a hostel, and he said that if you were caught outside, they beat you.
Yeah. He really wanted to get out of where he was living. The guys that he was living with, he said, were abusive. He didn't get into it. I didn't want to know. Because that's a whole different world. I can't even imagine what that's got to be like. And then, he told me, I want to move, but I can't because you leave your house and they will beat you.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's scary.
That's an answer.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Whew. Yeah, that's... I don't know.
Sorry to that guy.
Yeah, me too. I felt really bad. It's like, that was one of the few that weren't love readings that I did, and that one made me really sad. So when I looked up, like different types of grief, right? There's two different types of grief. There's normal and there's complicated. And this is where I think we have to look at what's going on in ourselves right now.
Mm-hmm.
If we're dealing with normal grief or if maybe this has become really complicated.
I'd say complicated.
Well, I think everybody's different, but let me tell you what the normal grief, like what the difference is. So normal grief is sad thoughts and feelings that typically occur in waves instead of being a persistent low mood. So if you're in the complicated grief, your mood is persistently low. You don't have the ups. You're just down. The complicated grief is a form of persistent grief that does not get better naturally. There's more physical symptoms with it, like anxiety, sleep issues, suicidal thoughts, and physical illness. I wouldn't say that I'm in the complicated grief. I would say I'm dealing with this on a normal level because I have experience with my mom's loss, the complicated grief, and that this sucks, but not like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I guess I was thinking more because it's complicated because it tends to add in so many different factors for everybody at once.
Yes.
I wasn't thinking about the emotional point of it. But.
Yeah, in that way it is, but in this sense of the term as what they classify grief as, that's normal. They say that it's normal because that's what most people go through.
Right.
When your grief is worse, that puts you in the other category.
Got it.
But so you know what? First of all, before I go into the next stuff, let's do another reading.
Do it.
I think we should. Let's open it and see which one we want to do. Okay. So I have a very good friend in Las Vegas who I've known for so long. Her name is Donna, and she's my ferret friend that I talked to you about. She lost her dad. Let's see. His name is Daniel Lawrence Carlson. And she feels kind of responsible for his passing in a way. And so she asked me to see if I could just see how he is and make sure that he doesn't hold anything against her. So let's talk to Daniel.
Let's. Nice name, Daniel.
Donna has a very outgoing personality, and I picked up immediately where she got that from. She got that from her dad. She's very animated, and so is he. He likes to play jokes and be silly. It's how he got through things. I feel like her mother was way more on the serious side. He doesn't blame you for anything. Like when I ask him to give me details, first he's pounding this into me that he wants you to release that he does not blame you for anything, that this was just the time for him to go. His quality of life wasn't there anymore, whether it would have been you taking care of him or somebody else taking care of him. His quality of life wasn't there. He needed to move on.
Yeah.
It wasn't about, I don't know how to put this. Keeping him alive wouldn't have been the right thing to do. And this is what he wanted. So this was kind of his wishes. And although it had to come about in a way that may not have been the right way, it had to happen. Yeah. His passing had to happen.
Right.
We do things with our free will to try and step in and make somebody's life longer. And and I did that with my grandma. When my grandma got sick, she had a stroke, and there were several doctors that told me to just let her go.
Right.
But I couldn't.
And can I just pause you there right there? And the reason for that is because we as humans don't want to go through the grief.
Right, exactly. But that is definitely one of the points. For me, I knew intuitively that there was a deeper reason, and
Right.
There was things that were showing me that intuitively, and I had to go with that. But sometimes people will make that decision to keep somebody alive because of their own grief, like you were saying, or because they feel like that person, no matter how bad their life is, that person should have a life. Well, that's not the case. Right. There's circumstances where that's just not the case. And with your dad, Donna, that was definitely the case here. It was his time. He wants you to know that full-heartedly, that please release yourself of that guilt and just accept that it was his time. The fact that you couldn't be there when he died, that too, as much as we may not like to accept it, they do that on purpose because they don't want us to be there when it happens.
Yeah. And you have to respect that as a person or another soul, that it's not, for some people, it can be a number of things. It could be just, it's a private experience. Yeah. Some people do not want to put their children or their loved ones or their family through that. Some people will actually wait until certain people get there.
Yes. That happens too.
But it's all a personal choice, and we can't hold that against them, and know that they don't hold anything against us.
No, and know that they see it all. Whatever the true story is, they see that. Don't think that you have to explain yourself because you don't. No. They know it. They know it all.
Yeah.
So, if there's things here that you're like, gosh, I hope that my dad knows. Oh, no, he knows. Right. Definitely. And that, like what you were saying about that they do that on purpose. I was with my grandma an hour before she passed. The nurse told me she's not going to pass tonight. Go home. I came home. An hour later, I got the phone call that she had passed. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So I got in my car and I went down there and was right around the block. But that happened for a reason. I wasn't supposed to be there. And one of the reasons I wasn't supposed to be there was to see the changes that were going to happen in her body when she died. Because by the time that I got there, most of it was over. But if I would have been there for that, that would have been the image. The image that I see of my grandma's hard enough.
And that's what she wanted.
Yeah. She didn't want me to see her like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
So same with your dad. So
cool.
He's a sweet guy, and he loves you so much. So please don't hold on to any of that. Just know that he's around you, and he's giving you so much love.
Did she give you a picture of him?
Uh-huh. Let me see.
Yeah. It's funny because I didn't see the goatee, but I saw a mustache.
Did you? Yeah.
And I saw light, not dark. But
yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Get myself together. I really wanted to do that one for her because I know she's been struggling with that for a while. And I wasn't, like, with some people, you don't want to reach out too much because maybe they're not ready. And I kind of felt with her that when she was ready, she would come to me, and she did.
Yeah.
So thank you, Donna, for coming to me with that.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I got snotty nose.
Uh-oh.
I know. Uh-oh. So now we know that we're going through some grief.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, we all probably are.
Yeah.
So what are some ways that we can deal with this grief so that it doesn't consume us?
Good point.
Because that really is what's most important here.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those things, because we are working from home, and I've said this, and I was very glad to see it when I did the research, is to make a routine.
Yeah.
Because, and you know what? You have to have that discipline to stick to it. And some days I do, and some days I don't. But I try and say, okay, I'm going to do an hour of this and an hour of that. And like even down to some days that I'll do it in the same order every day.
Right.
Like I usually do my Dutch lesson after lunch.
Right.
It just helps me. It helps me to keep on a schedule, makes me more sane, I feel, if that makes sense. And it does, because it was in this article.
Yeah.
Yeah. Begin the day with gratitude. I have a hard time with that lately.
Yeah,
I do. I'm not going to lie.
It's tough, but I still, I still find it somewhere. I do.
When I wake up in the morning, for the most part, you forget, like, for a second what's actually going on. And then it's like, oh, yeah. You're not going anywhere today. You don't have anything that you really have to do today. Like, seriously, I don't have anything that I really have to do. And it's like, woo, okay. This is very odd because I went from being, like, always having something to do to...
I know. I saw this coming for you because pet sitting kept you busy physically too. So
that's a whole other thing, is that some days I'm like, I really, really need my exercise and I get out and I do it. And some days I know I need it and I still don't do it. And then I suffer. Yeah. Like today I have to do it. Get out and ride a bike or something.
Yeah.
Because that's very important.
Yesterday.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. But I need something. It's really important. I had an active job that I didn't even realize how active it was. And a lot of people don't realize how active their job is. If you sit behind a desk, this might be easier for you. But if you're the type of person even that was like getting up and going constantly different places, or you were on your feet all day, or, this level of no activity is very frustrating.
Yeah.
I don't know. I should go out and do it like the same way that I did before. Yeah. Just do my walks, at the same time. Maybe that would help.
I think so.
Yeah, part of a routine. Let's see. Sleep enough, but not too much. That's important. I've been actually very proud of you. You haven't been sleeping really late. I was kind of worried, but this is normal. I mean, for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of used to not, working from home. It's a little, I would say it's a little bit easier for me than others.
Yeah.
But it's still, being told that you can't go somewhere and the simple things, go to a movie, go out to eat, even walk on the beach, for crying out loud. Yeah. So I don't like that part. It's wearing on me. And
exactly.
So, but no, I wanted to stick to some level of routine, get up and do my stretches and,
exactly.
go about my thing, So.
Yeah. I'm a morning person. And so for me, I've just kept my same routine. I get up between 5 and 6 usually every day. But I can understand for a lot of people, if they've worked years and years and years of getting up early and they don't like to get up early, that now this is like, they're like, I can sleep.
Yeah.
But don't get sucked into that, because it is a lot easier for you to get depressed when you're sleeping more. I know that sounds weird, but it is. It's a cover for depression, but it's also can cause more depression because your mind is just not clear.
Right.
So you got to keep that, like they say, 6 to 8 hours, Not like you have to do that all the time, but just keep normal schedule is helpful, because eventually we will go back to some kind of normalcy, where you'll have to go back to getting up.
We'll be able to go out of our houses.
Right, exactly. Limit how often you get updates on what's going on with the coronavirus. Like, turn your TV off. Don't watch the news. I can't really even handle the TV anymore, to be really honest.
A lot of people do it. That used to blow my mind at your grandmother's home that she was in, because they always had the news on.
Always the news.
But these people were really, really old. I don't really even think they were watching it. I think it was more for the people that worked there.
Yes. But grandma.
That's a terrible thing to be showing, either infants or old people is the stuff they show on the news. I have a personal opinion about the news. I think it's terrible for you.
It is.
I don't think you should stick your head in the sand and not,
you should
be
know
informed.
What's going on.
Yeah, you should be informed. But sitting and hovering around that, it will get you depressed.
It absolutely will. And the more you see it.
Intended to do that. I hate to say it.
It is. It's just, it rots your brain.
I don't hate to say it, actually. I love to say that.
And the thing is like, even with, if you're watching regular TV that has like regular commercials with your news, you're still getting bombarded with this, tonight at 10, how many more people have died? It's just too much right now for our brains. We need to keep busy with happy things and try, watch comedies. Comedies are great, especially like stand-up comedy. That's a great
the
alternative.
Sensationalism is just too much. It's too much.
Yeah, it really is. Let's see. So, like, more with that of getting your updates like once a day, try and get them from like absolutely a reliable source. Like, really the only person or group that I listen to is that daily update that I give you every day directly from the county that tells us the new numbers. That's it. I don't believe anything until I see it on their site. Yeah. Because that's it. Don't listen to what you see on the news, because they do blow things out of proportion. Don't listen to what your friends are saying, because a lot of times they don't know what they're talking about either. Yeah. Just get yourself that one update. It's really easy now. Most websites even have it like at the top. If you need your daily coronavirus update, I mean, that's the first thing I see when I go into Facebook is, here's your daily coronavirus update. Yeah. It's real easy, but just be careful about how much that you're looking at that. Yep. focus on things that you can control. Because one of the hard parts about this is that we've lost control of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We're now being told what we can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have control if we lose our jobs. That's not up to us anymore. It's up to the companies that we work for, the people that we work for.
Right.
We've lost all control. So if we focus on what we've lost, it's just going to make it worse. So if you can find the things that you can control, that's going to make things easier. I can control the fact that I'm going to put myself on a schedule. I can control what I put into my body as far as food or how much exercise I get or whatever it is, but don't focus on the things that you can't control because that will control and consume you.
Yeah.
You can't sit here and think of a million ways that this could end because we don't know. I don't know, and I'm a psychic.
Yeah.
I have ideas. And I don't think it's going to get better right away. I think it's probably going to get worse before it gets better, but it's going to get better.
Well,
and it's, we're all in this together.
Mm-hmm.
So
the amount of worse it gets is solely up to us.
Yeah.
But I do believe that. Yeah, it will get a little worse.
Yeah. And it was interesting because one of the things that I read was about how you do that in your mind, that merry-go-round or, the hamster wheel of the thoughts. And what they said in this article was the best way to stop that is meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Because it teaches you control of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
I can stop myself now when I start spinning. Sometimes it's not easy, but I used to be the type that I would have trouble sleeping, not falling asleep, but I would wake up in the middle of the night and be wide awake. That would happen to me a lot, especially when you were working at like 4 a.m.
Right.
So many times I would just be like, I'm up, that's it, But the reason why is because as you start to like try to fall back asleep, you're thinking of all the things you have to do today, whatever's going on in your life. I have, through meditation, learned to stop that.
Yeah. I used to think that was good, like even like falling asleep.
No, yeah, I did
like
too, right?
Like reviewing my day and all this stuff.
No.
And I thought, as I got older, I'm like, no, this is not helping my situation.
No.
Because that's when I got in my best arguments.
In your head.
So that's why I got to stop this.
Lie.
And the idea of meditation, like you're saying, whether it's literally counting sheep, that could be
absolutely
a form of meditation. If you're praying or you're just focusing on your breathing, that's just going to sleep. But you can meditate awake, whether it's sitting still, doing the same thing, or doing something that takes your mind, like you were saying, painting rocks,
right?
Playing music. If you like to crochet or knit or whatever your thing is, that is a form of it.
Right. Absolutely.
It's taking you out of your normal thought process or for the moment and putting your focus on something totally irrelevant.
Absolutely. And when you're trying to fall asleep, like what you were talking about, if your mind is focused on something else, it's very, very difficult to fall asleep. And a lot of people like to sleep with the TV on and the sound, but if your brain connects to what's going on the TV, it's very hard to sleep.
I hate it.
Yeah. That's also what's happening in your head if your thoughts aren't being turned off. So if you like to listen to something to fall asleep, listen to some music.
Yeah.
Or even meditation music. But when you're trying to fall asleep to it, think of what you're hearing. Like, pick something apart. Like, you know how when if they're going to put you on under anesthesia and you start counting down and you think it's not going to happen, you're like, count down from 10. Oh, I'll get to 1, no problem. And like by 7, you're out. That's kind of what happens here. Right. If you can take your focus off of this and try and focus on like the parts of the music, taking like if there's piano, pull that piano part, listen to it. It's not going to take you long.
No.
And the more that you do this, the shorter amount that it will take, but you have to focus on that.
Yeah.
If you can do that, I've changed my sleep pattern. And I'm not going to say I'm perfect because through this, there's been a couple of nights that I've been up and on Facebook at 3 a.m. because the mind's going.
Yeah.
But it really does help a lot. A lot.
I agree.
Yeah. So that's my episode.
Cool.
Okay. You know what? Do we have time? I'll do one more reading.
Yeah, we got time. Go for it.
Okay, let's do one more. Let's see what I have here. Okay. This is Vicky. This is from Candace. And she wants to know from Vicky if she knew that she was sick. I believe this is Candace's mother, or it's a relative, aunt, somewhere in that. I can't. Let's see. Okay, so I don't feel like there was something she was keeping from you. Like, I don't feel like she knew that she was going to die, so to speak, or that there was something wrong with her that was going to make this happen. What I feel like is that she was not feeling good. I want to say this has something to do with the heart, maybe a heart attack, a sudden heart attack. But she wasn't feeling well, but she was scared. She didn't know how to deal with it. And what I'm feeling is like she constantly was telling herself that she was going to deal with how she was feeling, that she was going to go to the doctor, that she was going to lose weight and start eating better to help herself feel better and start exercising, all these things that she promised herself she would do, and she never did them. And so this was kind of the outcome of that, unfortunately. Yeah, my mom kind of took the same road.
Yeah.
But she's good. And that's what's important, is that even though her life was cut short, because she was pretty young, I want to say in her 50s, probably around the same age as my mom, her life was cut short. But there's a whole other side to this, is that now she can help you more and be with you on the other side. So it's a different kind of love and different kind of connection, but she is very much there and very much around and that's a contributing factor of your life. One thing that I'm hearing from her, and I'm assuming this will make sense to you, is that she doesn't want you to follow in her same patterns, because she wants your life to be different from hers. So she says to whatever those patterns are that you're following that maybe you see in her, she wants you to try and undo that. And if you don't know what they are already, she said, this will open it up and you will start to think about it and you'll realize what they are. But you have to be honest with yourself. If you're not honest with yourself, then this can't change. Right. But it is important that you don't follow down the same road that she went down.
Cool.
So, she's so sweet.
That's nice.
Yeah, that was very good advice, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes they have some really, really cool messages. Sometimes people are like, do you have a message? And I'm like, hi. They just want to say hi. But sometimes it's just like, blah.
Yeah.
You know?
They've been waiting.
Yeah. One of our friends, Lori, she asked for a reading. It's a situation that I don't feel comfortable talking about here. She didn't tell me anything about it. It's just what I'm getting from it. I don't want to talk about it here. But her dad passed a few years back. And when I was reading this and trying to decide if I was going to do this on the show or not, her dad was coming through so strong that I think before we deal with this other situation, we need to deal with dad first, because he's just like, talk to her. Don't do it on the show, but talk to her. They're so funny. If they want to get through, they will find a way. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it's like this nagging in your mind. You're just like, hey, okay, all right, I'll say something.
I try in my readings on the show to be specific, but I try to leave out your personal details. Like, I may know some of what she's talking about as far as the paths, but I don't think that it should be talked about here. I think that's her own personal business. Right. So, Candace, if you want to talk about it, we can.
Cool.
But, yeah.
Nice.
Yes, so that was a good episode.
Very good. Thank you. Yeah. Good job. Good first episode of the second season.
Yay!
But it's really number 53.
53, and we'll never talk about the fact that it's season 2 ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, before we say adios to our friends, would you like to share your information?
Yes. My website is SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. The only thing that you won't find on there is my company that I have with my friend Chelsea, Velvet Psychics, where we do unlimited texting readings. You do like a weekly or a monthly subscription. If you're interested in getting more information on that, you can email us at velvetpsychics@gmail.com. And we're still working on an app or something.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. And for me, if you like art, djonesartcollection.com. Or you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at djonesartcollection. And for the music, gypsybrown.com, and Instagram, gypsybrownmusic, at gypsybrownmusic. And for Facebook, Gypsy Brown Band.
Yay.
So that's all I got.
Yay.
Cool.
Well, we hope everybody has a great week and stays healthy and safe.
Yeah, and just, you know what, guys? Chin up as much as possible. I know it's not. Yeah. It's not easy, but...
This is a difficult time, but we will get through it together. We're all going through it.
Yes.
So don't think that, you're alone.
Just send your energy.
Yes.
If the world ever needed love and positive energy, it's now.
Yes, it is.
So please think about that in your moments of time.
Yes.
Alone with yourself.
Agree.
But yes, and we do appreciate you guys listening in this week.
Yes, we do.
And we do hope you have a great week. And we will see you next week. Or hear you next week. I don't know.
Whatever you want to do.
Anyways, until then, peace and love.